My name is Stephanie Moore, and I am the Foundation Relations Manager for the Children's Cancer Foundation, and I'm also the mom. Thank you, I'm a little taller. Oh, what's that? And I'm also the mom of a childhood cancer survivor. Listening to Dr. Dome, that it kind of takes me back to everything that my son went through, that he had rhabdo. So a lot of those chemotherapies were the ones that Tanner had to endure. So in 2009, my son Tanner had just had his 3rd birthday, and we noticed a bump on the lower right side of his back. Okay, there we go. You can see it right there on the right side of his back. I questioned Tanner about it. Did you fall? Did someone hit you? He said no. So I pushed on it a little, and he said it didn't hurt. It was squishy and no bruise or anything. Just a little bump. I figured I would watch it and see if it goes away. About 2 weeks later, I noticed that it wasn't going away, and in fact, it was getting bigger. He had his checkup for his 3-year checkup the next week, so I asked the doctor about it. He gave him a normal scoliosis test because it was so close to his spine, as you can see, that he wasn't quite sure where, what was going on there. He thought maybe it was a spine issue. He said, I don't think it has anything to do with the spine. It's probably just fatty tissue. And it's one thing I need to note. I heard it's probably just fatty tissue many, many times from many different doctors. He said, but if you want, I can send him to a spine specialist. We decided that that was probably the best decision, just to get it looked at to be sure there were no issues with his spine. We saw the specialist, and he said this is definitely not a spine issue, and the only way that we would know what it is to have an MRI done. He said he didn't like putting children to sleep, and there's always a risk. He also said that we could wait a year to see if it changes, then come back. And I know what you're thinking. Waiting a year is probably not the best decision. Tanner's dad wanted to wait, but I guess my mommy intuition kicked in because I needed to know what it was. It wasn't right. It's not normal. We needed to find out what this was. We scheduled the MRI. Tanner did great, and the doctor told us that he would call us in a few days with the results. We lived about 45 minutes from the hospital, and we were not even home yet when I received the dreaded call. I heard very odd words coming from this person's voice on the other end of the phone, and I couldn't comprehend what he was telling me. He was saying things like osteosarcoma, Wilm something, Ewing something, rhabdo something. And I said, what are you telling me? What is this? What are you trying to tell me? He said, these are cancers. He said, you need to immediately turn around and go back to York, pick up the scans, and head to Hershey to meet with the head of pediatric hematology department. In less than a minute, my world came crashing down on me. I crumbled and I sobbed, forgetting the world around me, when I heard a little voice say, Mommy, why are you crying? And just like that, I quickly gathered myself and looked in Tanner's eyes, and I said, nothing, honey, everything's okay. That was the one and only time Tanner ever saw me cry during this entire journey. I promised myself that he would not see me weak because I had to be strong for him. After arriving at Hershey, it was confirmed that Tanner had a large tumor on the lower right side of his back. They would not know if it was cancerous until they did a biopsy, but they were pretty confident of the worst. The biopsy was completed a few days later, and before Tanner was even awake, we knew that our 3-year-old had cancer. Oops. For a few reasons, we decided to have Tanner treated at Johns Hopkins, so surgery was quickly scheduled to remove the tumor. More scans were completed to determine if the cancer had spread, and his treatment plan was decided. Tanner was diagnosed with alveolar rhabdomyosarcoma, stage 3 intermediate risk, and would be treated by Dr. David Loeb. This picture was right after he had surgery to remove the tumor and have his port placed in his chest. Luckily, the scans showed that the cancer had not spread. He would have 42 weeks of chemo once a week, and every 3rd week he would stay inpatient for 1 night, and 26 radiation treatments started 1 month after chemotherapy started. These are just a few photos from the hospital. And this is during radiation, where he decided that he wanted to flush his own port. And you can see his little tattoos, his little X's on the bottom where they lined up the radiation beams. He did great through radiation, but the burns on his back after 26 treatments were severe. This picture was taken after the 26th radiation treatment. And even after that, you would never know that this kid was sick. He was so tough. We wrapped him up and made sure that that wasn't going to get infected, and we actually left straight from there after his 26th radiation treatment, went to Ocean City, and had a good time. And he had a blast. We actually ended up wrapping him in saran wrap to make sure nothing got in there. We had about 20 layers on him, I think. I've heard many stories and seen many children during their treatment, and Tanner was definitely one of the lucky ones. He was only neutropenic one time and only received one blood transfusion. If there was such a thing as a poster child for cancer, he would be the one. He definitely had some bumps in the road. He would get sick. He would flip out when I had to give him shots in the belly or make him take medicine. He would throw a fit when he had to wear a mask. But he was there, and he was still with us, and that's all that mattered. And here's just a few more pictures during treatment. And they all love to ride the poles. I'm sure you guys all know that. And this is Tanner now. He's 10 years old and 6 years in remission. He's a smart and athletic boy doing everything the other kids are doing. And that was him just this weekend. And we spent many, many days on the baseball field, the wrestling mats, and the football field. We've not seen any long-term side effects, but there's a possibility that he will not be able to have children. I want to end by thanking all the doctors in this room. Without the research and the passion you have to save children like my own, I may not have Tanner to hug and kiss every night. Thank you.